Gallegos. I played the role of Despain.
Jason Camacho, director and sheriff.
Stuart Martin. Elsie Crowley.
Taylor Church. Lenore Gallegos, producer, and the Office of George R. R. Martin.
So I want to start us off, Mr. Martin, you were talking about Waldrop's stories. Maybe tell us a little bit about kind of where the idea of bringing this story to the screen started. Yeah, where the idea of starting and adapting this for the screen started.
Right. Well, Howard Waldrop, who I was just talking about, is one of my oldest friends. We started corresponding. He was living in Arlington, Texas. I was living in Bayonne, New Jersey. John F. Kennedy was in the White House, and we were both in the beginning of comic fandom, which was just starting in the early 60s there. And I had a letter published in a Fantastic Four, so they started sending me comic fanzines. And I wanted to fill in holes of my collection. So I bought a copy of Brave and Bold number 28 from Howard for $0.25. He thought he was making a big profit because he'd only paid a dime for it. It was the first issue with the Justice League, Star of the Conqueror. It's worth like $30,000 today. So, but Howard and I started corresponding, and we were aspiring writers. We were both writing for the comic book fanzines. And we corresponded, for years and years. Finally met 9 years later at a convention. Howard is a short story writer, which is a wonderful, proud and noble thing to be, but there's not a hell of a lot of money in it. But he's made such a wonderful contribution to science fiction, fantasy. He has a truly gonzo sensibility. He thinks of ideas that nobody else could possibly think of, like Cooters here, which obviously was inspired by H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, but Howard noticed that there's a line in the Wells novel about explosions on the surface of Mars, and it doesn't correspond with the number of cylinders that land near London. So I said, where did the other 3 cylinders go? And he decided Pachuca, Texas was the answer. Anyway, a few years ago, I decided that, to buy some of Howard's stories and to have them done as feature films, because I thought they would make great films, and get Howard a wider audience. So I bought the rights and I commissioned some screenwriters. I tried to get various studios interested in doing them, but short films are like short stories, not the most commercial proposition around. But finally, after a number of years, I said, well, hell, I'll make them myself. And in realizing that dream, one of the things that really made it forward was meeting Vincent here when he came to Santa Fe, New Mexico to make The Kid, a Billy the Kid movie that was filmed on some old western towns outside of Santa Fe. And we got to talking, we went out and we had some Mexican food, and I told him that I had this script about a constipated sheriff that he would be good for, and my God, he was good for. So we got a star, we got a great director, all in one thing. And Vincent brought with him Trioscope, which is an Atlanta-based group of, I don't know how to describe them, technical wizards, animators, geniuses, and suddenly we had a movie. So why don't I hand that off to you?
Yeah, ditto.
Well said. Well said. Tell us a little bit.
Actually, a friend of mine, which turned out to be a mutual friend of a few people on this stage, Martin Sensmeyer, who's this native actor. He's an amazing kid, and I was actually taught him a little bit about acting, and he studies with my mentor now. Anyway, we did Magnificent Seven together. He played the native in that, and And, you know, because we're good friends, he would every once in a while mention Chad and his company and this film this show that they did with, that he did with them. And then, so one of the things that George and I knew early on with Cooters was that because it had aliens and spaceships in it, it's a short, and nobody gives you that kind of money for a short because there's no investment. So I was like, you got any bright ideas, George? And we were like kind of stumped, and then I had remembered this company, this incredible company that Chad runs, and I said, Martin, can you give me this man's number? And he said, yes. And I said, can you ask him if it's okay if I can call? Did I get permission to call you at all? No.
I have no idea.
Yeah, okay. So I called him, and come on, it's like a no-brainer really for me because I didn't need a lot of guts to call him because I have George. So I'm like, hey, guess what? George, Martin, and I want to do a sci-fi film. The only thing is we don't have any money. And would you do it for blah, blah, blah? And Chad said, send it to me. Let me read it. And then, was it a day later, 2 days, 3 weeks later?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been 5 minutes. But
5 minutes, yeah. So he pretended he was aloof. And then I got a call back from him and said, let's go. And so I called George, and that's how it kind of happened.
So, LC, let's hear from you on that. Just take it from there.
yeah, I think for us, the timing was really good. We just finished a series called The Liberator, which I see some faces in this crowd that worked on that show with us at Netflix.
Nice.
And we were looking for, you know, our next projects. Brandon Barr, who's in the audience here, was, you know, starting to sort of develop a larger slate for us. It seems like a long time ago, but actually it's just a couple of years ago. Yeah, so I mean, you know, I mean, he laid it out. I mean, what were we going to say? No, I mean, you know, it's like an opportunity to say the least. And so we just got to work figuring out how we were going to sort of cast the check that I had written, you know, which is sort of the style that we tend to have here at Trioscope. I say yes, and then Taylor figures it out. But yeah, I mean, you know, what I was super excited about in reading the script was that it had everything that we were looking for to sort of demonstrate our technology and us as a company, because it was obviously, it has a scope and scale and a time period, and, you know, aliens and cowboys and these things that are really the type of genre-fied material that we need and want to be doing, you know, as a studio with our technology. And then I also just thought it was super funny and really well-written script by Joe Lansdale.
I'd love to dive into a little bit of the making of. So you're painting the picture of how